So you want to write a CV that stands out and get you that cherished interview? All right, without further ado, let's go write the perfect CV, shall we? My name is Dans Wright. I'm a registered nurse and a musician from Ghana, living and working in the UK, specifically in Scotland. In this video, we're just going to write the perfect CV. A CV is a short written summary of your skills, achievements, and experience which relates to the role you want. Let's consider a CV as your first attempt to promote yourself to the employer, and a good CV would definitely get you the interview you want. There are different types of CVs based on the layout. So let's first consider the types of CVs. Number one, chronological CV or the traditional CV. The chronological or the traditional CV lists your education and your work history based on the most recent. Number two is the skills-based or the targeted CV. This focuses on your job-related skills and your personal qualities. Number three is known as technical CV. Usually it's used in industries like IT and engineering, which highlights the skills needed in that particular industry. Number four is known as the creative CV, which is usually used in the creative industry. Usually this kind of CV is linked to an online portfolio that contains a video or an infographic. So typically for graphic designers or for certain kind of industries like architecture and the likes, these CVs are used by personnel who have a project that they've linked online. They usually use the link as proof of their work so that the employers can access the kind of work they have done previously. The last but not the least is the academic CV. This is usually used by academicians to compile their work, their education, their research portfolios to prove to their prospective employers that they have what it takes for the particular role they are applying for. So let's keep it simple. Your CV, irrespective of whichever you're going for, except the academic CV, should not be more than 2 pages. Now that we've gotten to know the types of CVs based on their layout, let's go into what I call the ingredients of a CV. In this case, the ingredients of a CV are what makes up the CV. Let's break them down. Number one, contact details. Number two, personal profile. Number three, education history. Number four, work history. Number five, gaps in your work history if there are any. Number six, references. Either you're going to provide them or you're going to leave a note that will state that references are going to be available on employer's request. So now let's take the ingredients one after the other and dive into them. Okay, ingredient number one, contact details. This, as the name suggests, tells the employer how they can get in touch with you. So it should include your name, your email address, and your phone number. Do not include your age, your date of birth, or your nationality. That is not really essential at this point. Number two, personal profile. This is my favorite because this is where you sell yourself to the employer. In a few lines, you tell the employer who you are and what you intend to do if you are given the role. Don't underestimate this part because words have a way of working on everybody. Word this part carefully and let it reflect what you think of yourself, because you will not be in the room when your CV is being looked at. And that is the first thing that is going to get you the interview or not. Because let's face it, most people will have the qualifications you have. So then why should you get the interview? I'm going to go a bit deeper about this later in the video, so stay on. Ingredient number three, education history. When giving your education history, whatever layout you choose, your education history should include the name of your qualification first, the school, college, or university where you studied, and the dates you attended, your start date, and preferably your end date. Ingredient number four, work history. When you're providing your work history, make sure to provide any internships, any placements, or any voluntary jobs, because that will go a long way to give an impression of you to the employer about the kind of person you are. When providing your work history, it should come in the format of the employer's details, the job title, the dates you worked there, and finally, a summary of your key roles played at that particular position. Ingredient number five, gaps in your work history. A lot of people are terrified by this situation. They are afraid to tell the employer that at a particular point in their careers, they had to take a time off or they had to go off work and basically they were at home doing nothing, or they think whatever they were doing, it's not worth putting on their CV. But I think that is wrong. Let me give you a typical example. I'm going to teach you a way to escape this fear using the STAR method. The STAR method is an acronym for situation, task, action, and result. Irrespective of the situation you find yourself, you can decide to look at it in two ways, positive or negative. So let's say worst case scenario, you're even fired from your previous work. You can put it there in your CV and state that under the STAR method, S, this was the situation. Something happened in your workplace which you took blame for and you were fired. That becomes the situation. You can then go a bit deeper by talking about the task. The task here will be what you have to deal with. You can state that this and that happened, you were supposed to do, which you didn't, and that led to you being fired. Let's move on to the action. What action were you supposed to take and what action did you take? So in this case, whatever action you took came out as you getting fired. That's all right. But the most important thing here is the result. After you got fired, how did you process it? Did you go home and reflect on it and realize that A, B, and C were your faults and this is how you were supposed to process them? So you can put the gap in your CV, and when you get the opportunity, you use the STAR method as an approach to prove yourself. Ingredient number 6, references. You can decide to provide a contact of a trusted person, usually from your recent employment or from your recent education, and secondly, another trusted person who can serve as your character reference. However, you can decide to omit the reference and put it in your CV that your references will be provided upon request by the employer, which is also a known practice. So now that we've gone through the rudiments of a CV, let's write the perfect CV. And in writing the perfect CV, I combined two layouts to come out with a unique format to write a CV that got me an interview to get a job. I combined the traditional CV and the skills-based CV. Why did I do that? Because to me, it felt like that was the approach I could use to sell myself more to the employer when they picked my CV and looked at it. I'll show you a sample of my CV and give you an example of what I'm talking about. When I was writing my CV for job roles, I told myself, wait for a minute. Let me think like an employer. If I had 100 CVs on my desk and I was supposed to go through them within 20 minutes, to pick the 10 that would stand out for me, what was I going to look for? Mostly, all 100 candidates are likely to have the same qualifications. If it's a degree in nursing or a diploma in nursing, all 100 of them are going to have it. The applicants are not here in the room for me to choose them based on any bias I have. So the only thing I have to choose the applicants, the best 10, is from how organized they are in their CVs, how they sell themselves, and how they are going to stand in front of me based on their CVs. So when an employer picks your CV, it has to make a statement. And for me, I felt like if I used a skills-based CV as my A part, and I use the traditional CV as my B part in the layout of my CV, that to me sounded like a perfect CV. And that is exactly what I did. The skills-based CV highlights your qualities as an employee, and the traditional CV is basically what everybody else have. So I spent most of my time putting the words together to sell myself using the skills-based CV in the first part of the layout of my CV. And then the second part, which is the education history, the work history, would be basically what everybody would have. So in essence, a skills-based part where you sell your qualities, where you sell who you are, is the most important part of the CV. And when I found that, I had done 80% of the work. At this point, what I needed to do was to look deep in myself, bring out the qualities I think I possess, write them and word them in a way that it stands out to whoever reads them, and probably give them goosebumps. It might sound like a cliche, but it works. Words work on literally anybody. Take this from me. Even in one of the most cherished social contracts of all time, which is marriage, it usually starts with words. Irrespective of how you feel about someone, if you don't go to them and tell them that, hey, hello, from the very moment I saw you, I felt something special. And I think if you have anything of this sort, if you feel the kind of chemistry I feel, we can share something together, nothing is going to happen. Did you just imagine how that felt? Although I was just trying to prove a point, but words work. So put the energy into scripting and crafting who you are when you are not in the room, and put it in words in your CV. If you're getting some value out of this video, consider clicking the like button and subscribing to the channel so that you'll be notified whenever there's a new video. To wrap up, I'm going to leave a sample copy of the layout I've described in the description, which you can edit and keep as your CV. Finally, let me give you a bonus. This has proven to work because it makes you stand out as an applicant. I always title my CVs based on the role I'm looking for. In one of the CVs I put up online, which gave me about 15 calls in a day, I titled the CV Caring Hands. And this was what I wrote for the skills-based part. I am a knowledgeable, compassionate, and caring nurse. I am dedicated to quality care. I go above and beyond to put my patients/residents first in delivering the best care possible. Imagine you've never met me and I'm applying for a role as a nurse, and this is how I open my CV. If for nothing at all, you're going to remember Caring Hands. And that's going to stick with you as an HR manager. It works. So get to work, put the best words together that describe who you are, and let that CV get you into the interview room. Take care and see you in another video.